I completely oppose any sort of border wall. It's a waste of money and ineffective, especially at the same time we're cutting valuable programs like Meals on Wheels and the EPA. I can't imagine one Democratic voter, as much as we want to keep the government, or one Democratic member, as much as we want to keep the government funded, we're not going to suddenly compromise our principles just because we're being held hostage.
I'd say that's a no on the border wall. It's a definite no. Democratic House Budget Member Brendan Boyle of Pennsylvania made it very clear on Countdown yesterday that funding a border wall is a non-starter with his party. And the president appears to perhaps be listening. Ohio Republican Jim Renacci sits on the House Budget Committee as well. Representative, welcome to the show. Thank you for being here.
Good afternoon, Liz. How are you?
Very well. And you and Congressman Boyle have strikingly similar backgrounds. You both hail from working-class families. You're both from Pennsylvania. You both were the first in your family to graduate from college, both at Ivy Leagues, no less. I'm guessing you're for the wall, but would you fight to fund it now, even if it means a government shutdown this weekend?
Well, look, first off, we have to remember that the wall was approved in 2006 by Republicans and Democrats, the border. So that border fence has already been approved. It's something we have to fund at some point in time. And I think what we really need to do is work with the president to make sure, because there are many people back home in my district in Ohio that are now saying they're concerned about the security and they want to see that border fence. Of course, nobody wants to pay for it, which is always the problem. And I think we need to be able to work together to get this done. And we have to work with the president to eventually get this done. This was one of his signature priorities.
Well, to the president, it's obvious the border wall is a poison pill for Democrats. But did it surprise you that last night President Trump signaled that to get a budget deal done before the government shuts down Saturday, he would drop the border wall funding for now?
Well, look, President Trump's a businessman like I am. He's going to compromise to get things done and move things forward. So I understand why he's saying that. In the end, he's going to want to get this done. But I think he's willing to work with Congress to get some things accomplished. But that means eventually getting some of his priorities done as well, which this border fence is important to him.
But does his comment last night lower the odds today that we'll see a government shutdown come Saturday? That's kind of what I'm going for here.
Yeah, I do believe that he's making that suggestion. He does not want to see a shutdown. Nobody wants to see a government shutdown. I think the president more than anyone wants to see us move forward, which means we'll have some kind of short-term funding, which again is a little ridiculous for me because I've been here now 6 years. We do too many of these short-term funding situations, and at some point in time, we've got to stop and start looking to long-term issues.
The American people would love that too, Representative. Let me get to tax reform. They really want to see that as well. The president would love to get some points on the board before the 100-day marker, which is Saturday. Do you feel pressure to get something out there? I know Steve Mnuchin and Gary Cohn are working on it at this hour, but from your standpoint, are you feeling any push and shove to at least get anything out there or articulate real support?
Well, look, I've seen pressure on lowering rates for the last couple of years. That's why I spent almost a year building my own tax model and building my own tax plan. I do think we have to do...
Have they asked you for your opinion and your plan and your model?
The administration has talked to me about my model, so that was good. They're looking at everything, which is important. And I think in the end, we have to lower rates. We have to make the United States very competitive. We should make the United States the most competitive place to do business, which my model does. But again, I think whatever we do, and I'm happy to see the president's working on this, we got to bring these rates down so businesses can thrive here in this country.
Does your model throw caution to the wind about the deficit? It seems right now that the administration is sending out butterflies, if you will, of messages that say, well, let's not worry about the deficit for now. Growth that will come from these tax cuts will magically create tax revenue. There are a lot of people who are questioning that, even people on your side of the aisle.
Well, my model doesn't, but really, even if I look at what the president's doing, as a businessman, first you price your product at something that's competitive. Our tax rate does not make the United States competitive.
Absolutely
so I know what the president wants to do. He wants to reduce the rates to make the United States competitive. At the same time, in the business world, which I was in for 30 years, you turn around and you reduce your expenses. And I think what the president's going to be saying is we need to get these rates down. At the same time, we need to look at our spending and bring our spending down. And we'll get some growth out of the economy by bringing these rates down. So I don't see him just believing everything's going to be coming from lowering rates. I see him doing what a businessman would do, which is let's make our rate competitive, Then let's turn around and bring our expenses in line. And I think that's the direction he wants to go as well.
Did you know you had that much in common with Congressman Boyle? It was pretty incredible to see the similarities between you two.
I do, and I met him a number of times. Look, there's a lot of good people on both sides of the aisle here and a lot of similarities. The real thing we have to do is be willing to work together. Our problems aren't Republican and Democrat problems. Our problems are American problems, and we have to start working for the American people, and that's what's important to me.
We agree. We agree, Congressman. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Liz.
Representative Jim Renacci from the great state of Ohio. Go Indians.